Hi, this is Angela McFarlane and you're stamping with AMAC. We're going to create a tri-shutter card. So this is a card with a little bit of a difference. It has different panels inside, and I will show you how we begin. We start off with our base piece of cardstock, which is 10.5 inches by 5.5 inches. So along the long side, we will score this at a few different measurements. I'll just open out my handle here. So the first score line is at 1 3/4 inches. The second one is at 3.5. The third one is at 7 inches. And the last one is at 8 3/4. So then what we want to do is turn it this way, and we want to cut some slits. So these slits are going to be 1.5 inches wide. So I will slide this across to 1.5 inches, and I want to cut my slits from this first score line up until my last score line. So we'll just line this up and start my blade and cut down to my last score line. Then I will flip this over and I will repeat the process. So I go over to 1.5 inches, have it lined up, and I'll start from the bottom one and work my way up, and I use my little guides on my blade to stop the cut. So now we have this arrangement. To get the folds that we need, we want to create a Z fold. So we will fold this whole section forward, and then we'll fold this back on itself to start this. And then we will fold this back this way, and we want to fold this out this way. So it's a little bit fiddly, but you can see the shape that I've achieved there. So this first section here folded back on itself, and then this back section came forward. So that creates that, which forms the base of our card, and that will open fairly freely. Then what we need to do is get our second layer, which is our very vanilla layer, and I will show you how we'll do that. We'll start with a very vanilla layer, which measures 5 1/4 inch by 10 1/4 inch. So that is our base size for this layer. And then what we're going to do is pop it into our trimmer, having the 5 1/4 inch side across the top, and we're going to line it up at the 1 1/4 inch mark. And then we're going to cut from 1 1/2 inches down to 8 3/4 inches. So I've got that in my guide at 1 1/4, and we'll go to 8 3/4. So then we're going to take this out, flip it, and repeat the process. So we'll line it up at the 1 1/4 inch mark. Make sure it's nice and straight. And then we'll put our guide at 1 1/2. And we'll cut down to 8 3/4. And then we'll flip it, and on the 10 1/4 inch side we'll line it up at 1 1/2 inches, and then we cut from 1 1/4 down to 4 inches. And we repeat the process. So I line it up at 1 1/2 inches, and we cut between the slits, so from 4 inches to 1 1/4. Okay, so then this section comes out. So that is then going to create our second layer, which is 1/4 inch smaller than our first layer. So then we want to cut this into sections of 3 1/4 inch. So the easiest way to do that is to line it up at 3 1/4, close my rail and just slide down. And I will do the same. I'll flip it over and I will go to 3 1/4 inch. I'll cut that off. So then I have my 2 sections, and then these 2 pieces are going to be a little bit longer, and we want them at 3 1/4 inch as well. So 3 1/4. And we have our first layer for the card. So these will then fit along here. Made a little bit of a boo-boo on this one. I cut a little bit further. Can cover that up. And then these will fit here. So then we can get our liquid glue and we can attach these layers to the base of our card. And we'll just speed up the process a little bit while I'm gluing this. Then we have our center layer that we can attach, and this will be the layer that we can write on or attach a greeting on. So this layer is 2 1/4 by 3 1/4 inches, and that's very vanilla, and you can leave that off and attach it later after you've written on it, or you can attach it as we go along. So that creates the base of our card, and then we'll move on to the DSP layer. To cut the DSP layers for our Tri-Shutter card, we will start with a piece of 6x6 Designer Series paper. We will cut a 1-inch strip, the full length, which will create this piece, and then we will cut that in half at a 3-inch length. So that's 1 inch by 3 inches. And that removes that 1-inch section. Then we're left with 5 inches by 6 inches. We cut that in half, so we have 2 sections which are 5 inches by 3 inches. We need to create this C-shaped bracket, and in order to do so, we will be using both of these pieces. I have already done one, and I will show you how to do the second one. So we take our paper trimmer and we line up our trimmer at 1 1/4 inches on the rail. We take our 5-inch side and we slide it in, and we line it up at the 1-inch mark, pushed right up to the top. Then we close this and just pull the blade down. So this makes our first cut. Then we want to repeat the process on the other side. So I will slide it across to the 1-inch mark on the other side. I will line this up to 1 1/4 inch, and I will close that down and pull it down. So then we have this flap here, and then we will flip it 90 degrees and we will line up our 3-inch side at 1 1/4 inch, and we will start at 1 inch. Whoops, I'll just move my paper. Line that up at 1 inch, which is where our other cut came to, and then we will cut that down until we see the other cut, which is another 3 inches down. So that should just come out like so. So then we have 2 of the C sections, one for the front and one for the back. And then we have these other 2 3-inch pieces, and they will form the decoration for the rest of our card. With this pattern I chose, it doesn't matter that it doesn't match up at all. I specifically went for a random pattern like that so it wouldn't matter. So then we will go on to assembling our card. After we've prepared our DSP layer, we can also attach that. And once again, I would just use liquid glue because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room to attach it. And just be mindful when you choose your pattern that it's a non-directional pattern and it doesn't really matter. Makes it easier when you're cutting it out. So we'll just speed this up a little bit and I'll glue on all the panels. Okay, once we've got all of that attached, then I thought with this card, if I left it like that and just put a decorative piece there, then this section that you've written on, you would be able to see what you've written. And I just wanted to cover that up. So I used the stitched label nestle dies, and I've cut a piece that fits here. And I will attach that without putting any glue on that section. So just being mindful where the glue is going to go. I'm going to put some glue along these edges here, and then I'm just going to put the glue around the edge here just to secure it properly. So I won't go too close to the edge there, but I will go all the way around here. And then just to make sure it's all stuck down properly, I'll just pop the glue around here. And then when I stick that on, I want to line it up with the front of the card, so I can attach it there. And then I'll just give that a little bit of pressure, apply a little bit of pressure around there, and then we have that front attached to the card. Then we're going to stamp the peony on a scrap piece of paper, and we've got a small piece as well that we can stamp the small peony on. So I'll stamp both of those at the same time, and then we will cut them out. You can either fussy cut or use your die cutter if you have the dies. Apply some good pressure, and I'll get my small peony and ink that up and stamp there. Now that I've die cut my stamped images, I will attach them to the card, and I will use the liquid glue again. I purposely dangled my leaves over the edge a little bit, so I'll just be mindful not to put glue right on the tip of those leaves. So I'll just stay away from the leaves there. This glue has quite a strong hold, so you don't need a lot of it. I will just position that like so. Once again, I've intentionally left this card blank because it's always nice to have blank cards that you can add whatever greeting you would like to them. And then I'll use a few of the embellishments again and just pop a few of the lovely embellishments that we have. These elegant faceted gems. And that finishes off the front of the card. And then on the inside, just to add a little bit more character to it, I've just popped a little banner and the small peony in there as well. So once again, I'll just use liquid glue to attach those. And it's up to you where you want to position it. I just want the V of my banner on my Very Vanilla, and then I'll just slide a little peony down, just keeping mindful of where it needs to open so it's not in the road there. So there we have my version of the Try Shutter card. I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next card.